Good morning. We're picking up on the Gemara Shiur Rosh Hashana on Daf Daled Amud Beis 4b. So just to recap very briefly, we started the Shiur on the bottom of Daf Daled about the Lirigalim, the fact that Rosh Hashana of the festivals is Nisan, Pesach. We said what difference does that make, what halachic ramifications we in the Shiur of Baal Ta'achet. The Shiur of if you donated something to the Beis Hamikdash, a korban, a donation generally, or even some other mitzvahs, monetary mitzvahs, masras, tithes, truma, maisvahs, other mitzvahs that we discussed here at the bottom of Daled Amud Beis, the Brisa taught us. We're told that at a certain point you're over in Baal Ta'achet. At a certain point you transgress the Aveira of delaying to bring your korban. As we'll see later in the Gemara in Daf Hey Daf Vav, there's a positive commandment of Tishmor, the obligation to bring. We saw in the opinion of Rav Meir on the Daf Daled Amud Beis, you should come there, you should bring your korban as soon as possible. But nonetheless, there seems to be another side to the coin, and it seems to be an issur, a prohibition that if one doesn't bring the korban by a certain point in time, they've transgressed Baal Ta'achet. So moving on to Daled Amud Beis, we presented the various opinions, 5 opinions when is Baal Ta'achet. We said the Tanakama was just 3 festivals in whatever order. Then we said was the opinion of Shimon ben Yochai, which is important for our Mishnah's purposes because it makes sense for what our Mishnah says that Rosh Hashana of the Regalim is Nisan. He said it has to be 3 festivals, but in order. Pesach has to be first. So you always need to have Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, having not brought your korban in that order, making Pesach a Rosh Hashana l'Regalim. The third opinion of Rav Meir, 1 festival after 1 festival you're over Baal Ta'achet. Then we had the opinion of Rav Elazar ben Yaakov, which is 2 festivals, and then we had the opinion of Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Shimon, which is just Sukkot. And then we had the sources for all of them. So the Pesukim tell us at the end of Parshas Re'eh, in the Parsha of the Yom Tovim, B'chag HaMatzah, B'chag HaShavuos, B'chag HaSukkos, a repetition of these 3 festivals. You have to come to the temple. You have to bring your korbanos. So the Tanakama said, okay, 3 festivals. Already. So this is already in the parsha of the festivals. Why is it telling us these again? Why is it repeating them to us? So tell me that you need all 3. You need 3 festivals to be over Baal Ta'achet. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, no, the fact that we were talking already about the Yontif of Sukkot in that mini parsha. Some say it was because we started with Parshas of Pesach there, so why are we repeating it? We know it's already in that order. So tell me it has to be not just 3 festivals, but in the order of the pasuk of B'chag HaMatzah, B'chag HaShavuos, B'chag HaSukkos. Then we had the opinion of Rabbi Meir, mentioned before, 1 pasuk, a different pasuk. You have 1 festival, since you have to bring it that 1 festival. If you fail to bring it that 1 festival, you've already been over Baal Ta'achet. Then we had the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, 2 festivals, because it said being plural, minimum plural is 2, so you have 2 festivals, and we haven't yet discussed the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, why it's Chag HaSukkos. But when we were dealing with, in the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, if these 2 festivals, what do the other people use this pasuk for? They use this pasuk to tell us that all the Yom Tovim are linked one to the other. Okay, and then other people learned it from other places. Then we come down to the issue of, so what do the other opinions do with this verse? If you don't need it for the Rosh of Baal Ta'achet, like the first 2 opinions, Tanakama and Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai need this pasuk. I'm really the 5th opinion as well. You need this pasuk B'chag HaMatzah, B'chag HaShavuos, B'chag HaSukkos to tell me Baal Ta'achet is after 3 festivals, after 3 in order, after Sukkot being the last one. So what do the other opinions? What do Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shimon do with this drasha? So we say they learn it for Tashlumin of Shavuos. So how do I know Shavuos? You have all 7 days to bring the korbanos of the Yontif if you didn't bring it on Yontif itself. So we say they're linked together, just as Pesach has 7 days to bring the korban, because Pesach is a 7-day festival, so too on Shavuos you have 7 days to bring the korbanos. Then we say, no, why not link it to Sukkot? In the end of the day, we said, well, it's maybe Shmini Atzeres is different. Then we say it's not different in this regard. We came up to the end. of Tafasta Merubah, Tafasta Mu'at, Tafasta, we link Shavuos to the lesser big Chiddush. We link it to the Yom Tov that has less days of extension, i.e. Pesach only 7, not Sukkot, which possibly has 8 days of Tashlum and 8 days to bring the Karbanos HaChag, and therefore that's where we left off. We know this is what they use this pasuk for. B'Chag HaMatzos, B'Chag HaShavuos, B'Chag HaSukkos, to tell me Shema Matzos came Shavuos, just as on Pesach you have 7 days of Tashlumin, so too on Shavuos you have 7 days of Tashlumin. Everyone with me? Again, there's only a few people online. We'll record this so other people can watch it afterwards if they want. But please feel free to chime in. I realize that's why we're covering much more ground on Shomrei Shabbos afternoon. People chime in. There's discussion. There's debate. There's the base medrash feel. Here I feel it's a little bit one-way traffic. So really do feel free to ask questions and to raise issues. So today's sugya, we're going to continue with that. It just struck me as I'm preparing it that literally we will link back and we will have connections with both the Shabbos Hagolul Drasha. We'll have connections to the thing I sent, the Devar Torah I sent out on Friday afternoon for Parashat Tzav. We'll have connections to the Shiur I gave last week on the Parasha and Pesach. So it's really something I always find that Hashkach, I find it very reassuring that when you learn something and then suddenly it links up to all the other things you've just been learning recently or concurrently learning, there's definitely something very unique and special about that. So continues the Gemara. So the question goes like this. Okay, so we brought this pasuk. We needed it for Baal Ta'acha for certain opinions. For the other opinions, we said you don't need it for Baal Ta'acha. We'll use it to link the Yomim Tovim together. Specifically, we said it was linking Shavuos to Pesach. Just as Pesach has Tashlumin, so too Shavuos has Tashlumin. The Gemara says, okay, therefore, so why do you need to include Sukkos in that pasuk? It's important to have Pesach and Shavuos. If you're linking Pesach and Shavuos, learning one from the other. But what do we need to have Sukkos as well? What we learning, why Sukkos included? What do we learn from the fact that Sukkos is in that pasuk? So Gemara says, we need Sukkos in that pasuk. We're linking it. We're connecting it to Pesach. How? Just as we know from the Pesukim. We know from the verses by Pesach that Ta'ulina, a person needs to stay over in Yerushalayim a whole night extra, meaning he has to come to Yerushalayim Erev Yontif. He's there first night Yontif, he's there the first day of Yontif. So it's not enough he stays over that first night and that first day, but that's the day of Yontif when he brings his Karbanos, when he has to bring in the Beis HaMikdash. Lina, he needs to stay over the first night of Chol HaMoed. Of course, we're talking about in Eretz Yisrael, one day Yontif only ever, and therefore he has to stay over the first night of Chol HaMoed. Everyone has to book in an extra night in the hotel. They need to stay in over an extra night. So our Sukkah is to only, so the fact we're linking Pesach to Sukkot, just as we know by Pesach, there's a mitzvah of Lina, of staying over the first night of Chol HaMoed in Yerushalayim. And again, we'll qualify and we'll discuss this mitzvah of Lina. So too Sukkot, similarly by Sukkot, one has to stay over in Yerushalayim. So how do I know that mitzvah of Lina? So here, look at the pasuk in the side here, the Torah Sholem with my mouse. You shall cook the food and you shall eat it in the place that God will choose. Again, this is in the parasha of Kol HaBachor. And then you will, in the morning, you will turn around and you will go back home. There's something about waiting till the morning, and as Rashi explains, you have to stay over the first night of Chol HaMoed, the intermediary days of the Yontif, and you'll go back in the morning. But Yontif Leika Amakra. You can't be talking about Yontif. Maybe I'll just come before Yontif. First night, Yontif, I'll be there in Yerushalayim. And in the morning of Yontif, I'll go home. The Gemara says no. Rashi says no. The mitzvah of Aliyah L'Regel, the Gemara Chagiga discusses at great length, is mitzvah Lirois V'Liros. It's a beautiful thing. It's to see and to be seen. I remember recently when I had to go to Leila's school, they put on a big Hanukkah play. It was a big one this year. They're leaving the building after 20 years or whatever it was, and they're moving to a new school in January. So we went to the play, and I was joking with a friend that I guess going to a play when the kid, Leila was on for about 1 minute, her class, it was a little bit like Aliyah Riyas Achag, meaning it's both Lirois Vili Rose. It's not just to go and see the play. I mean, it wasn't exactly, Broadway production, but it's more liros, to be seen at the play. The kids could see their parents coming. So too when it comes to Yontif. Liros, there's two-way mitzvah to come and see Beis HaMikdash. So you have to come and experience and be part and see for yourself the spectacle of Beis HaMikdash on Yontif. On the other hand, is liros, to be seen. So God has to see you. I think Gemara in Chagiga is interesting. Drasha, someone who's blind in one eye, are they going to be chayiv in the mitzvah? Because to be seen, all learn from the idea of seeing and be seen. So here, that's what Rashi is saying, that on the day of Yontif, that's when you have to have a re'iyah chiva liros ba'azora. The night, people weren't in the Beis HaMikdash. In the daytime is when you have to be in Beis HaMikdash. It can't make sense that you're already allowed to go home at daybreak on the morning of Yontif. You have to stay over that whole day of Yontif. That's the mitzvah of being and coming and showing your face and being seen in the Azara. And then on the next morning, on Chol HaMoed morning, that's when you can come home.
You couldn't go home anyway. You wouldn't be able to go home anyway on Yom Tov because of the Chum.
Oh, we got Rashi in the house. Rashi in Chagiga Daf Yudain on the base says exactly Lionel's point, that the problem of Techumin, you have issue of Techumin that you can't go home. So the point is that Techumin is a machloikus with Da'iraisa or Rabbanon. So it would be surprising the Torah would have a drasha to tell you can't do something which is midrabanan. So so if you on the reason of Techumin, you would the opinion which is Techumin is derabanan. So it's unlikely this is what this drasha is going to be, and that's what the Torah is telling us. Furthermore, the question is exactly what does that mean? So you can't do Techumin, but you could leave Yerushalayim. So you're allowed to leave Yerushalayim. You have 2,000 amas outside of Yerushalayim. So can you leave Yerushalayim or not leave Yerushalayim? When you're saying To'olina, I need to stay over. So you're telling me, well, it's technical now. It obviously means staying over to the morning of the Chol HaMoed. So I couldn't leave Yerushalayim anyway on the morning of Yom Tov. Maybe you could leave up to 2,000 amas. Again, so maybe that's where Rashi's coming from. Otherwise, your point is a very salient one, a very much more practical, and it seems to me much more. Rashi's one is a little bit maybe the first minute I'll go show my face and then make this and then go home. So therefore you have that point. The question is also here, who's at the morning? Lina. So the mitzvah is to stay overnight, right? So maybe you gave a part of the night. Why'd I have to pay for a full night in the hotel? I'll just stay as soon as it gets dark. So I saw here the proof of Bava Mitzvah was meaning, the Prophet tells us if you owe somebody who worked for you during the day, leave the money linas laila, meaning you can't have a whole, you have one time period, the linas laila, staying overnight. Similarly with Lot, Eliezer comes to the house of the Suel and Lot. There's always lina in the Torah. So it brings proof that lina really means a whole night. It's not called lina. It's not called staying over overnight period. If it's only a few hours into the night, after the night, you need the whole night until daybreak. So you need to stay over till the morning of Chol HaMoed. Okay, so let's see a little bit more Gemara. We'll see these Tosfos in here today because there's two very beautiful Tosfos. Let's just see a little bit more Gemara. The Tanakama of Rabbi Shimon Tashlum L'Atzeres Minalehu. So the Tanakama, Rabbi Shimon, remember, they used the pasuk of Chag HaMatzot, Chag HaShavuos, Chag HaSukkos to learn Baal Tacha, right? Three festivals in order, or Sukkos being the one festival because they're written in the parish of Sukkos. So how do they learn Tashlumin of Atzeres? We just said we know that you can bring karbonos for 7 days after Shavuos is because of this pasuk. They link back to Pesach to Shavuos. So how are these other opinions who need this pasuk for Baal Tacha, where will they learn the din of Tashlumin on Shavuos from? So they learn it from the teaching of Rabbi Bashmol, the Tani as we've learned. Rabbi Bashmol Amra Torah Mona Yom V'Kadosh Chodesh. The Torah tells us count the days and sanctify the moon. Meaning, this as Rashi explains here, Mane Yomim Shenema Ad Chodesh Yomim. The Torah tells us here, it's in Parashas Ba'alosecha, counting the months and bringing the karbonos of the Chag of the Rosh Chodesh, observing Rosh Chodesh Yomim, you count a full month. The Kaddish Chodesh, the Karbonos, with the sacrifices. Mach Chodesh Kedushi Acham Mimenuyot. Just as the month, it's all about how do you count months. You count it according to days. You count a month of days, and then you'll know it's Rosh Chodesh. So therefore, the holy day itself, the time period of the celebration is according to the units of its counting. Meaning, Mani Yomim, count the days, and that's how you establish months, by the count of days. Therefore, when it comes to the celebration of the whatever you're counting, is also going to be a day long. Meaning, you have to bring the carbon on that one day. You have one day to bring the carbon musaf. Meaning, Rosh Chodesh is one day because it's linked. There's a linkage between how the units you use to count towards that thing and when you celebrate that thing. That's the Gemara. So to here, Yomim v'Kaddish Hatzeres. To count the days and then sanctify Atzeres. So just as I said, a month, because the Torah tells us it's a culmination, it's a conglomeration of a month of days. So to here by Shavuos, there's some type of counting. There's a unit of time we count towards it, and therefore Shavuos itself is celebrated according to what it's counted by. So Shavuos is counted by days. We know Omer, it's the mitzvah to count each and every day up to Shavuos. Therefore, we count in days, and therefore the Yom Tov of Shavuos is celebrated in days, in day units, i.e. Shavuos is one day long. So Eim HaTeres Chad Yoma. So maybe I'll say, okay, that's it. Yom Shavuos is just one day and nothing more. You can't celebrate it any longer. They can't bring korbanos any longer. Says the Gemara, no. Are you telling me, but it comes to Shavuos, you only count days, you don't count weeks? Again, very relevant what we're going to start this Thursday night. Yesterday was 0 days, whatever it had, and how you say on Thursday night. I guess you're going to. So when it comes to Shavuos, when it comes to the Omer, you have to count days and count months, right? Count weeks. So therefore what? Beautiful. So there's two things. You count days, and therefore the Yom Tov of Shavuos indeed is celebrated as a day, but there's a secondary halach of counting weeks. So therefore there's also an element of celebrating Shavuos for a week. How do you celebrate Shavuos for a week? You have Tashlumin Kol Shtiva. There's something about Shavuos that flows over, that bleeds into the week, the days after it. You've got a whole week to bring korbanos. So look at Rashi here. You can bring the carbon according to the days of its counting, the days of its calculation, I guess is a better word. And it's counted by weeks. So here you get into the machlokes. We're not going to talk about this really today, but again, you have the machlokes, different opinions is, what exactly is the mitzvah? Is it just days? Is it weeks? Is it two mitzvahs or one mitzvah? It's around it's one mitzvah, just different chalokim of the mitzvah. We have the famous Rabbeinu Yerucham who holds us two mitzvahs. There's a mitzvah to count the days, and the mitzvah to count the weeks. And he said in the Beis Hamikdash, indeed, there were two doraisas. He says nowadays the days are still doraisa, but the weeks are the rabbanon. Therefore, we make a bracha on the days, but we don't make a separate independent bracha on the weeks. Beit Halevi felt on Beis Rabbeinu Yerucham famously that even if you miss the count, you miss a day. If you don't miss the weekends, if you don't miss the seventh day when you count a whole week, you can indeed count with a bracha when it comes to a full week. When you count the week, today is day 7, which is 1 week. Today is day 21, which is 3 weeks. Therefore, the week is possibly an independent mitzvah. What's very beautiful is maybe it makes a lot of sense. It's Rabbeinu Yerucham. Da'araisa is the days. Because indeed today we celebrate Shavuos. No one says you don't have Shavuos nowadays on the day of no Beis Hamikdash. And we just said here, the counting of days corresponds to the celebration of the day. And we said the counting of weeks corresponds to the celebrating of a week, which is linked to Karbonos, which makes sense that just thinking now that the Rabbeinu Yerucham's opinion that the mitzvah of the counting of the weeks, for him who has two mitzvahs, the mitzvah of counting weeks maybe doesn't apply nowadays when there's no Beis Hamikdash, because the mitzvah of counting weeks indeed seems to be from our Gemara is more linked to the Karbonos aspect, the fact that you have a whole week to bring the Karbonos of the Chag, i.e. Tashlumin HaChag. Okay, let's see these Tosfos in, because they're important Tosfos in the few minutes we have left. So we just said those people who they learn out from the pasuk b'chag hamas, b'chag hashvuos, b'chag hasukkos. Leila's joined us. Yeah, what do you want, Leila? Just want to say hello. Oh, lovely. we said they don't need it to learn out. Before we said in the previous Gemara, they don't need it to learn out Tashlumin. They don't need it to learn out Tashlumin, so they use it to learn out Lina. Yeah, so we learn the halacha of Lina, staying overnight. So Lo Shiyolim b'Yushalayim Kol Zayin Yimei HaPesach. So we said the primary limud of Lina is from Pesach. Not that you need to stay in Yerushalayim all 7 days of Pesach. It doesn't mean you have to stay, book in the whole Pesach in Yerushalayim. And after Pesach, not the Pesach, you have to go home. The Bechol Duchte, the Marbim Lino, Kagan, the Shmini Atzeres, the Bikurin, the Pesach Sheni, the Chalakabonis, the Sifri, the Pashas Re'ei Anochi. Because there's other times you need Lina. The Torah tells us, Gemara tells us we need Lina also on Shmini Atzeres. If you have Sukkot, but Shmini Atzeres is a separate yontif. So you need another Lina on Shmini Atzeres. Bikurim, one who brings Bikurim to the Beis HaMikdash. Again, it seems to be about when you come to Beis HaMikdash, it's not an in-and-out job. It's not a pop in. Once you go in, you have to stay overnight. You have to give it sort of a respect. You have to give it a night overnight in Yerushalayim. All these other mitzvahs, Pesach Sheni, and there clearly is only one night. So therefore, even in the original mitzvah of Pesach Lina, it's not the whole 7 days of Pesach, but rather it's one night. Interesting. So when you said the pasuk itself was by Pesach, what does it say? Pasuk says, "Tisbachas Pesach," you should sacrifice the Pesach offering in the evening. Really, it's in the afternoon of Erev Pesach. And it writes, "You shall cook the Pesach, and you shall eat it, and then you turn in the morning." It's not really that morning. The Huyontif. It's not. We said it can't be that morning after you've become Pesach. That's already the morning of Pesach. Pesach first day for Pesach. You need to stay over the first night of Chol HaMoed. Because the Yontif can't be talking about Yontif. Why? Tosfos goes like Rashi's opinion here that you need to be in the Beit HaMikdash. That's the morning of first day Pesach. The morning of first day Yontif is the day you have to show up in the Beit HaMikdash. When it says one night, again, it's not all 8 nights of Sukkot.
It is possible that it's talking about you could leave straight after Yom Tov, though, couldn't it? You could stay over one night. As soon as Yom Tov's out, you don't need to do Lina for the second night.
So that's what the Torah is telling us. It's telling us, no, you have to stay over that extra night. Dafka in the morning. In the morning you turn around, you have to go home. So yeah, that's what we know. We don't know about nights. We know you're going home in the morning. So what morning are you going home? We can't go home the first day morning. That's Yom Tov. Either because you have to cut to Chomin, as you suggested, or because of you have to be in Nazorah that morning. So what morning are you going home? Clearly, it must be the morning of Chol HaMoed. Therefore, you must have to stay overnight, the night of Chol HaMoed.
And also, another question that earlier on it was talking about that there is also Lina Chayev on Shmini Atzeres, but the Pasuk doesn't tell us that the Gemara only learns it on Chag HaSukkos. Chag HaMatos, Chag HaShavuos, and Chag HaSukkos. But how do you know there's Lina on Shmini Atzeres? And more, if it's Lina on Shmini Atzeres, then you have to save the whole 8 days. You can't do Sukkos.
No, you could go home and come back again. Why can't you go home and come back again?
Okay, yeah.
Go outside Yerushalayim. I guess hotels, in those satellite cities of Yerushalayim are half the price. A little bit less congested. Go in for one night. Go out to the Chol HaMoed, spend Chol HaMoed in the environs, and come back into town for Yom Tov. I know people who do that. They have a place in Yerushalayim, they have a place outside Yerushalayim. Yom Tov they spend in Yerushalayim, and Chol HaMoed they spend outside Yerushalayim. So just think, how do you know Shmini Atzeres? I forget now. What's the drush of Shmini Atzeres? How do we know Shmini Atzeres? You have to stay in. The Shmini Atzeres is this independent mitzvah of. It's a Gemara in Sukkah Mem Zayin apparently. I don't want to look it up now because it'll not create a lot of silence on the recording, but Gemara probably has a drush somewhere else to learn out Shmini Atzeres by Lina. So back in Tosfos, so we said just the Pesach, not all 7 days you have to spend in Yerushalayim. at least this is a opinion of Tosfos here at the beginning. So too, we're saying Sukkot. It doesn't mean all 7 days. You raise a salient point. What about Shmini Atzeres? Okay, as I said, you can go out and back in again. Anyway, there's opinions that when you talk about having to stay in Yerushalayim, doesn't mean all day, all night. It doesn't mean you have to stay overnight. It doesn't mean you can't leave. You can't leave during the day. So let's just see a little bit more. Yeah. So Tosfos continues. We have a Gemara in Sukkah that seems to imply that all 7 days of Sukkot, maybe that your point is saying, because there's a link. Maybe in order to create the lina by Shmini Atzeres, you have to have a lina the whole way through. Meaning the Gemara there asked the question, is there shechionu every single day, and it questions that, but never asked the question of lina. It just assumes there's lina all 7 days. Meaning, if you didn't do it on the first day, you'll need to do it on one of the other days. Similarly, what about one of the other days of Pesach? What if you come not on the first day? If you just ended up coming to Yerushalayim late, in the middle of Pesach, is there any value to the lina after the first night, really? Meaning, can you achieve lina? Can you fulfill lina one of the other nights? The Tamer, the paper, Taser now asked the question. The Tamer later turned in lina mishum shalmei simcha. So I was asking, maybe the reason you need lina is linked to the shalmei simcha. Meaning, why is it you need to stay in Yerushalayim? I'll tell you why. Because you have the mitzvah of bringing karbanos, and it's already clearly from the Pesukim that we said, where's the Pasuk? The Pasuk we said, we'll bring the Pasuk here. There's something about the karbanos, the fact that you're bringing the carbon, you're cooking the carbon, you're eating the carbon, that's why you have to stay overnight. There's a linkage between eating the karbanos of the simchas, the Shalmei Simcha, which was discussed on Friday in the drasha on Simchas HaRegel, Simchas Yontov. There's a linkage between eating the karbanos of Yontov and staying over. So the Gemara there, so here Tosfos is raising the question, the Tamer, the whole reason of lina of staying over is because of the karbanos you're bringing of the yontif. How you call shmoina, and that you could bring the karbanos all 8 days. You didn't want limited to the first day. That we say halal, and the simcha. Well, we have to discuss. We discussed it on Friday. The simcha is all 8 days. There in the 5th parak of Sukkah. It may be carbon ta'onina. It's true. It's really linked to carbon. Because if you bring another carbon, another time of the year, you bring a carbon, whatever carbon you were chayiv, you're obliged to bring, we say you have to stay over in Yerushalayim that night. In the morning, you turn away and go home. Every zevach, every sacrifice, just as the Pesach, you need to stay overnight when you bring your carbon Pesach. So to every sacrifice you bring in the Beis Hamikdash, you have to stay overnight when you bring it. How do I know about other carbonos? Not sacrifice, not animals. What about other offerings, whether it be birds or whether it be wood and incense? What about those things? Meaning, every time you come to Beis Hamikdash to bring something, to offer something, the going home has to be in the morning. You have to stay overnight. So here's the question. The question is, in other words, Tosfos' question is, firstly, how do I know that it's not 7 days? How do I know you don't have to stay over 7 days if it is indeed linked to the carbonates? Hold on 1 second. Let me just double check that. I just done that right. Hold on. Sorry. Just want to make sure I got the question right. No, sorry, that's not the question. So this is the question like this. Basically, we see, this is what Tosa is asking here. We see all karbanas need to have lina. Not just Pesach. We now see it, and it's true by all these karbanas. Mincha, Yayin, Levoin of Ezim. So why does the Torah need a specific drasha to link Sukkot to Pesach? Why do you tell me? Do you know why on Sukkot you need to do lina? We'll come back to the 7 days whether it's the whole yontif or not. But generally, why do I need a drasha to tell me just as by Pesach there's lina, so too by Sukkot there's lina? All carbon, we learn everything from Pesach. Every carbon we learn from Pesach that's total lina. So why do you need a specific drasha to tell me by Sukkot that you need a specific drasha?
Sure.
So this is, I got to answer. There's a difference. Meaning, when are you to chayvenina? When do you have to stay overnight? When you actually physically bring a carbon. There's a bringing of a carbon. However, what about a case? Let's say you came to Yerushalayim for Yom Tov, for Sukkot, but you didn't bring that carbon that day. For instance, what? Could go the Shalach Shalom of Me'etmol. You sent your carbon with somebody else, a shliach. You sent your carbon ahead. By the time you get to Yerushalayim, you'll still be able to eat it because the shlomim can be eaten for 2 days, 2 days and a night, and therefore the ne'echolim lishnei yom you can eat them for 2 days. So what's the case? The question is now. Well, I came to Yerushalayim for the Yom Tov. It's not the day I brought a carbon. So when it's the day you bring a carbon, of course you have to stay over. That's halacha by all karbanos. That when you bring a carbon, you have to stay over that night. Not just Yom Tov, other karbanos as well. So the question is now, by Sukkot, let's say a case where I came to Yerushalayim for Sukkot, for Yom Tov, to show my face in Beis HaMikdash, but I didn't bring a carbon. Somebody else brought a carbon for me. So what would be the case? Here we learn we need a drasha to tell me just one Pesach. You need lino. You need to stay overnight. Something to do with the Yom Tov, not just the carbon, bringing the carbon. So too on Sukkot, you'll have to stay overnight. It's not just to do with the carbon. Another answer is the rabbis call mini smachas. Again, this is the grush from Shabbos HaGadol. The samachta, the rabbis call mini smachas. Simchas Yom Tov isn't limited to the carbon shlamim, the shalmei simcha. It would also include other types of simchas. Clean clothes and old wine. For instance, anyway, we say in that mission, we said in the mission in Sukkah that you have simcha all 8 days. Hold on 1 second. Tali. 1 second. Okay, so cleaning going on. Sorry about that. So we say, anyway, how could it be 8 days of simcha? You can't bring the carbon shlomim on a Shabbos. So therefore, it's unlikely to ever have more than 6 days, really, or 7 days, but definitely not 8 days. So again, a case where there's no carbon. So let's say I came to Yerushalayim and it was a Shabbos, and I couldn't bring the shlomim. Do I have to still stay over to Sunday night? Yes. Yom Tov was a Shabbos that year, and you, for whatever reason, weren't bringing your shlomim then, you still have to stay over first night Chol Hamoed. Okay. Let's just see if there's anything more. Just another point here is that here. So look, that really you have to be Lina's requirements requires you to stay in Yerushalayim all 7 days of Yom Tov. Why? All of Yom Tov is considered one night. And here comes back to what we learned together last week in the Parashat Savshir. Why? Interesting. We said carbonas become pigul, lina. They become noisa after a certain amount of time. I mean, in Parashat Sav, it tells us if you cooked in your carbonas in earthenware vessels, you have to break them. Meaning you can't kasher them. And if you cook them in metal vessels, you kasher them. And we said there's a unique halacha that they just don't need hagala, they don't need to be kasher, they also need to be washed afterwards with cold water. The Rambam Paskin, that's the same with halacha of Pesach. We're talking about salvation, this to do with both having the need for a matir. But what do we say here? Interestingly enough, so usually when the time period of the carbon is over, when it becomes, let's after 2 days, whatever it is, and the carbon is over, then it becomes you have to kasher the keli. The blios of the carbon are in the keli. So Tosfos here brings the opinion that when it comes to Yontif, if you cook something carbon in the first day of Yontif or any day of Yontif in your keli, all of Yontif is considered 1 day. Meaning it's not after technical 2 or 3 days the keli now needs kashering. For the matter of these carbonas, obviously you can't eat the carbon beyond that day, but the blios, there's a special halacha that all of Yontif is considered 1 day, and therefore you don't have to kasher the kelim from kasher, not from treif or pesach, but from carbon to non-carbon. You don't have to kasher it till the end of Yontif. So interesting. There's an idea. At least the whole of Pesach is called 1 night or 1 day. So maybe you have to stay over. We say meaning you have to stay over. It means you have to stay over the whole entirety of Pesach. Okay, we won't go on the rest of Tosfos. There's a couple of interesting ha'aras. So here we mentioned the Shalmei Simcha. So we concocted a case where you send your karbanos ahead. And furthermore, the Acharonim here deal with the question is, do I actually have to bring a karban simcha myself, or can I rely on eating someone else's karban simcha? There's really a split in the Acharonim. So, because if you say, I actually don't need to bring my own karban shlomim, my own Shalmei Simcha, the mitzvah is to eat the meat of the shlomim. We said the simchas yontif is to eat the meat of the shlomim, the rice on the highest level. So is it I have to bring my own carbon, or is it just eat of the carbon? And it makes a lot of sense. According to the Peinim, you have to eat. The women have a da'iraisa of simcha, right? They don't have to bring the carbon. No one says a woman's chayav to bring the carbon, but they have to eat from the carbon. So therefore, and maybe even for men, the mitzvah is only just to eat. And they don't have to bring, I can partake in somebody else's carbon. And once you say I can partake in someone else's carbon, I don't have to bring the carbon, therefore you also lose the whole impetus. Well, if the whole kasha of Tosfos is, we know that every time you bring a carbon, you have to do lina, so why do I need a special drasha for sukkahs? The answer is because who says you have to bring a carbon shlomim on sukkahs? You have to bring a carbon chatos when you have to bring a chatos, so you have to bring other carbon. You don't have to necessarily you personally bring the carbon. Maybe the mitzvah is enough to eat from the carbon of somebody else. And therefore, very good. I need the drasha from Pesach to tell me, Pesach, you need to stay overnight. Therefore, on Sukkot, you also need to stay over the night because of Yontif, not necessarily because I'm bringing the carbon. Interesting, we said here there's this linkage. Tosfos brought this whole approach that every carbon you need to stay overnight. So in my drush I put out for this Shabbos, I talked about how the Kohanim were trapped, were ensconced, had to stay in the Beit HaMikdash for all 7 days of the Chanukas Mishkan, this last week's parasha when they were inaugurated. And I said it was, that's we learn from there every year before Yom Kippur. The Kohen has to stay there. And then I brought the Rambam, who said actually the Kohen Gadol always had to stay in Yerushalayim, always had to be in the Beis HaMikdash. So I saw here the Chinuch writes that what's the source? Where does the Rambam get the source that the Kohen Gadol has to stay in Yerushalayim, live in Yerushalayim? What if he wants the Chief Rabbi now? Actually, Chief Rabbi Lau, his office is in Yerushalayim. No, it's the Kohen Gadol, but his office is in Yerushalayim. Obviously, he works in Yerushalayim, but his house, he lives in Modi'in. Why can't the Kohen Gadol live somewhere else? Why can't he live in the Gush? Why he has to live in Yerushalayim? Who says he has to have a house in Yerushalayim? So the Makar possibly is the Minchas Chinuch argues that since the Kohen Gadol had to bring the Chavitin every day, the Minchas Chavitim, he had the carbon to bring every day. Therefore, if he had to bring a carbon every day, he had the mitzvah of Linus Alayla. He had to stay in Yerushalayim every night. That's why the Kohen Gadol was limited and had to live in Yerushalayim, had to stay overnight in Yerushalayim because he was bringing karbonos every day, and therefore he had the mitzvah of Lina. So I guess we'll stop there. But we just saw in literally half a sugya we learned, linking it to the Shalmei Simcha, the Simchas Yom Tov sugya we learned, linking it to this issue of the bishul of the kalim, of the shiras kalim, the hechsher kalim for kodshim that we discussed last week in the Parashat Tzavshir. And here the Ratara sent out the idea of Kohen Gadol having to stay in Yerushalayim overnight, each and every night. So we'll stop there.